flag of the Catalan independence movement on display in Barcelona, Spain. In many ways, the issue of Catalonia's independence is more complex for residents of Barcelona than for those in other parts of the region. David Ramos, Getty Images. Barcelona, Spain. These days, the city of Barcelona wears two hats. And not too comfortably. On the one hand, Barcelona is a global city, a former host of the Olympics, and the home of one of the world's most famous soccer clubs, FC Barcelona. It is a magnet for more than 10 million visitors a year, an example of the ways large cities increasingly influence global politics, economics and culture. On the other hand, Barcelona is the capital of Catalonia, Spain's restive northeastern region, and the nerve center of a drive for Catalan independence that is described by its opponents as parochial, exclusive and nationalist. In that campaign, which the Spanish government now says it will take emergency measures to halt, there is no place in Catalonia with more at stake. In Barcelona, the issue of independence has provoked exceptionally sharp soul-searching and debate over allegiances and identity, with an intensity not seen since Britain voted to leave the European Union. In short, people are worried. First among them is the city's leftist mayor, Ada Colau, who, despite expressing support for independence in the past, says she is now not in favor of leaving. It's a very pluralistic city and there is a lot of diversity of opinions in Barcelona, she said in an interview this week. The city is not exactly comparable to London, which favored remaining in the European Union, since Barcelona is still home to many separatists. But if you compare it with people in the heart of Catalonia, Ms. Colau said, it's not as pro-independence. Ms. Colau said she was appalled by the violence of the Spanish National Police as they tried to block people from voting in the October 1 independence referendum, and she believes in Catalonia's right to self-determination. But her own attitude to independence differs from that of the Catalan president, Carles Puigdemont, a lifelong separatist from Girona, a small city 60 miles northeast of Barcelona. As an economic powerhouse that has welcomed migrants from many other parts of Spain, Barcelona has a more cosmopolitan outlook than the rest of Catalonia, Ms. Colau said. Cities, rather than nation-states, are the future, she said. I am a citizen of Barcelona and a municipalist, and that's the main reason that I am in the city hall, not the Catalan regional government. The region's October 1 referendum was a deeply compromised barometer of popular sentiment. Though official figures show that 90% of voters supported independence, only about 43% of the Catalan electorate took part in a vote that was banned by the Spanish courts and which the national government tried to stop by force. Many of those opposed to separation had little incentive to brave the police violence. Yet a breakdown of the results shows that the no vote in the Barcelona metropolitan area 9.8% was, though still low, more than double the rate outside the city 4.7%. Las Ramblas, a popular boulevard in the heart of Barcelona. The city is far more diverse than other parts of Catalonia. Chris McGrath, Getty Images. The city also recently hosted a large pro-Spain rally, unlike most towns in Catalonia, where it is rare to even see a Spanish flag. In essence there are three Catalonias, said Oriol Bartemius, a politics professor at the Autonomous University of Barcelona. You have the smaller middle-sized cities and towns, where the support for independence is massive, he said. Then you have all the cities surrounding Barcelona, where the majority of people speak Spanish at home, and where the support for independence is, in comparative terms, low. And then you have Barcelona, he added, which is a mixture of both worlds. Polling suggests that the presence of migrants from other parts of Spain, whose families moved from regions like Andalusia and Extremadura in the 1960s and 70s, has contributed to a more diverse range of attitudes toward independence. Over two-thirds of people born in Catalonia to Catalan-born parents wanted independence, according to research published in July by the Centre for Opinion Studies, a pollster funded by the Catalan government. By contrast, nearly two-thirds of Catalan residents who were born outside the region, or who had at least one parent born outside it, wanted to remain part of Spain, it suggested. The Camp Nou Stadium in Barcelona, the home of FC Barcelona, one of the most famous soccer clubs in the world. Emilio Morinacci, Associated Press. A visit to Trinitat Nova, a housing project in the hills that hug the edge of Barcelona, illustrates the point. In Trinitat Nova, one of the developments built in the 1960s for people who moved to Barcelona from other parts of Spain, there are comparatively few flags that denote support for independence. It's very rare to find 100% pure Catalan people here, said Aroa Roques, a 33-year-old saleswoman who supports independence but whose mother, a cleaner born in western Spain, does not. If the Spanish government allowed us to vote legally, Ms. Roques added, those opposed to independence would probably win. Mediating between these factions is a delicate process, and of all the city's institutions, it is FC Barcelona that may have the toughest balancing act. Catalonia has long been central to the club's identity. Signs at its stadium are primarily written in the Catalan language, and the club's president, Josep Maria Bartomeu, issued a strong condemnation of the treatment of Catalan voters in the recent referendum. Barcelona has drawn large rallies to protest the independence movement, unlike in most of Catalonia, where it is rare to even see a Spanish flag. Jorge Guerrero Agents France Press, Getty Images. But with 300 million followers on social media, the club is also a global institution. Hundreds of pennants from non-Catalan fan clubs line the perimeter of its stadium. For some in the independence movement, that global fan base shows that the maintenance of Catalan identity is no barrier to international renown, living proof that Barcelona has been able to make it on its own, said Mari Paz Balabrea, an academic who has written widely on Barcelona and its famed soccer team. But its straddling of both global and local identities has ended up satisfying no one. On Wednesday night, fans at the club stadium chanted for Mr. Bartomeu to resign for not issuing a full-blooded call for independence. Under the dictatorship of Gen. Francisco Franco, FC Barcelona was a symbol of Catalan resistance to the central government, and so it should remain. 42 years after Franco's death, said one fan before the game. I think it's very difficult if you don't live in Catalonia, and if you didn't live under the dictatorship, to understand the situation, said the fan, Sergio Sanchez, 47, who works in water management. Yet for at least some of the club's non-Catalan fan base, Mr. Bartomeu has already gone too far, said Juan Carlos Toledano, the vice president of a supporters group in southern Spain, who said Mr. Bartomeu had been disrespectful to fans outside Barcelona. Voter turnout in the independence referendum was significantly lower in Barcelona than in the rest of Catalonia, suggesting greater ambivalence about the process. Felipe Dan, Associated Press. If Catalonia remains in Spain, I will continue to support Barca, Mr. Toledano said by telephone. In the case of independence, I would stop doing it because I want to give my support to a Spanish team that plays in the league of my country. This kind of tension has led some to fear that the independence debate has turned Barcelona into a less tolerant and more parochial city. Barcelona is a mixture of different people who speak different languages and came from different places, Mr. Bartomeu said. But now the conflict is eroding this idea of this mixture. The city is breaking apart in pieces. Others argue that the separatist movement is not necessarily at odds with Barcelona's openness and international outlook. In fact, one important difference between the Catalan and British referendums is that Catalans generally look favourably on the European Union. Though the bloc has turned a cold shoulder to Catalonia's independence movement, its mere existence makes it easier for Catalans to envision themselves as a small but independent state enveloped by the larger union. For some Catalans, then, the independence movement is far from being a flag-waving, identitarian exercise. Rather it is a post-nationalist project, said Antonio Baños, a former leftist lawmaker and a leading voice for independence. There are people who are pro-independence in a classical way. They talk about Catalan culture, language and identity, Mr. Baños said. But the success of the pro-independence movement is in the way that it has brought on board people from other identities and perspectives. It's not a nationalist movement, it's a movement about sovereignty. In an added complexity, the movement also includes significant numbers of people from other parts of Spain, people like Mr. Baños himself, whose family is from southeastern Spain and who says he thinks in Spanish rather than Catalan. There are people who feel Spanish but feel that the old Spanish kingdom cannot be reformed in any way, said Mr. Baños, who heads an association of Spanish migrants who support Catalan independence. They believe that independence is the best means of solving problems, of improving the lives. Whether or not she agrees, the city's mayor, Ms. Colau, feels that the debate has strengthened rather than weakened Barcelona's pluralistic culture. For many years, Barcelona has been a Mediterranean city, a global city, and thousands of people have always mobilized here for peace, for dialogue and for human rights, she said. And that remains the case today. David Messiger contributed reporting. A version of this article appears in print on October 21, 2017, on page A1 of the New York edition with the headline "Global City is the Center of a Secessionist Feud."